Many of us are feeling stressed and exhausted, increasingly burned out. Burned out is so common these days, well, in fact, that it could even be considered a kind of pandemic. According to a 2018 study, 77% of Americans had experienced burnout within the previous year. By 2023, that number had risen to 89%. Well, that's very alarming. The World Health Organization also recognizes burnout as a global problem, and the way things are going, it seems like it's only getting worse, not better at all. So many of us are struggling to balance our careers with family commitments, and we forget about our own needs in the process. Kara Hauser was no exception. Several years ago, she was a working mom with a never ending to do list. There was always something that needed her attention, like an emergency deadline at work. If that meant missing her kickboxing class yet again, or missing out on sleep, so be it. Over and over, Hauser prioritized other things and other people's needs over herself. So, what could be the result? The result must be total burnout, exhausted and overwhelmed. She ended up taking a sabbatical from work for almost 2 years. During this much needed break, Hauser came to some important realizations. After 15 years of working so hard, trying to do everything that she felt she was supposed to do as a parent with a full time job, she was a wreck. It wasn't possible to live up to this punishing set of expectations. Something had to give. She needed to shift her perspective and change her lifestyle. Hauser eventually recovered. Now she has a message for other working parents or people struggling with burnout. Reject hustle culture. Also, if you are feeling completely overwhelmed, there are steps you can take to rediscover your joy in life. Reframing things can be helpful. For instance, you could think of it as life work balance rather than work life balance. In the US, unfortunately, so many people put work over everything and are made to feel guilty if they do not. But the truth is, the very notion of work life balance is a trap. How can you possibly find a sense of balance if you are sacrificing your basic needs for the sake of efficiency? To truly find balance, life needs to come first. That means your life, your needs. As you begin your recovery from burnout, you might need to overcome some conditioning, a tendency to put everything else before your own needs. So, no more self neglect. Instead, it's time to go on a journey of self care, arriving at the ultimate goal of self possession. Self possession means living a life where you are motivated by your internal values, where you are true to yourself. That might not seem easy, but there are practical ways to make these changes, which we will learn next. It starts with making space. For example, you could make physical space in your life by decluttering your house. In Hauser's experience, Marie Kondo was right. By creating physical space, you can open up mental space as well, thinking more clearly and becoming open to new possibilities. For Hauser, other helpful activities included physical exercise and a class on mindfulness based stress reduction. Prioritizing mental health and well being is a crucial part of burnout recovery. You need that mental space in order to make changes. Another way to create space in your life is to reevaluate your schedule. A schedule is the way you allocate your time and energy, which, like it or not, are both limited resources. So, here is something you can try. It's called an energy audit exercise, and it will help you make space in your schedule. Sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and some colored highlighters. Then make two lists, one with everything you do on an average weekend or weekday, and another list for a typical Saturday or Sunday. Next, circle all the activities that are 100% essential. They need to be done for you and your family to survive. You might also want to ask yourself if these activities have to be done by you specifically or not, or whether someone else in your household could take over. But maybe that's an issue for another day. Let's keep it simple for now. So now you are left with all the things that you are not circled. The non-essential tasks or activities. Use a highlighter, let's say green one or blue one, to mark the things that make you feel energized. Then use a different color, pink or orange, for the things that take energy. Are these activities that make you feel tired or depleted? Now ask yourself if you can remove some of these non-essential energy draining activities. Maybe you could replace them with something else, an energy giving activity like more sleep, for example. Of course, making space in your schedule is not half the battle, but it's only half the battle. The real challenge is sticking to it, enforcing your boundaries when life inevitably seems to get in the way. Let's say you have something planned, a pedicure, or an afternoon out with your kids or partner. Then all of a sudden, something comes up. It might be work related, or perhaps it's a request from a friend or family member. This is your chance to protect your boundaries. Tell the person that you have a conflict and that you cannot fulfill their request right now. You do not need to explain or defend yourself or your decision. Having said that, it's not always easy to say no, after all, especially to work requests and especially if you are not used to it. There are, however, a few handy phrases that might help, like I'm not available now, but here are some times that could work, or I do not have the capacity, so I am afraid I cannot take that on, or quite simply, no. Notice something? Eh? Have you noticed something? There aren't any expressions of regret. No, I'm sorry. You should not apologize for having boundaries. And in order to become more self possessed, you need to keep the commitments you make to yourself. Whatever it is, a class, a run, or a day off, treat it like it matters, like you matter. Your dreams matter too. It's easy to dismiss a dream as something childish, a sparkly Disney castle fantasy that has nothing to do with real life. But look at it at this way. A dream is a thought, an idea, and your ideas have the potential to become something real. If you give them the chance, you can choose to focus on certain ideas, to spend your time and energy on those dreams and nurture them. Isn't it empowering to realize this within your control? So here is another activity to try with an open mind. You will need a computer or a pen and paper. Give yourself about 20 to 30 minutes in a quiet, comfortable space. Once you are settled, imagine your life 7 years from now. Really picture it, as much detail as you can. Where are you living? Where are you working? What do other areas of life look like? Your relationships and hobbies. Think about your health, travel, and spiritual practices, and so on. Allow yourself to dream big. Write it all down without editing it, just following the stream of consciousness. Then, once you have dreamed up your future life, create a visual representation. It might be a sketch or a collection of photos, whatever works best for you. Now you have something visual to come back to, a kind of vision board. Hauser recommends spending 5 minutes a day looking at what you have created. Take some time when you get up in the morning or before you go to bed at night. Reflect on your vision board and really picture your dream life in rich, vivid details. There is power in choosing which thoughts to cultivate. You are not going to manifest your dream life overnight, but you can move in the right direction, prioritizing the things that light you up. Visualizing what you want, the things that matter to you, is an effective way to rebuild your mindset as you recover from burnout. As you rebuild your mindset, you will also want to think about rebuilding other areas of your life, like your schedule. For example, earlier you learned how to make space in your schedule. The next step is to create new, healthier routines. Routines that prioritize your well being. Before that, let's take a moment to consider habits. All of us, whether we realize it or not, are creatures of habit. The average person spends more than 4 hours per day or 10 years of their lives acting out of habit. This means a lot of time we are living on autopilot. And when we are struggling, feeling overwhelmed, or burned out, we often get stuck in bad habits. They become our coping mechanisms. That's why it's so important to reconsider our habits, to make a conscious effort to develop healthy ones. Consistency is key here. By repeating an action consistently day after day, it quickly becomes a habit. So, what about your morning routine? What does it usually involve? For many of us, the day begins with our phones. We lie there checking our emails and doom scrolling until it's time to drag ourselves out of bed. Then coffee, then a shower, and the next morning follows the same pattern again and again. You could think of this routine as a habit stack, one habitual action followed by another, then another. It's time to come up with a healthier habit stack. So, are you ready? Your new morning routine might look something like this. Wake up, take a couple of deep breaths, drink a glass of water, then take 5 to 10 minutes to reflect. This might be in the form of a guided meditation or perhaps a couple of pages of journaling. If you can fit it in some exercise too, that's great. You do not need to aim for perfectionism, just a healthy routine you can stick to. How would suggest making it into a 30-day challenge? If you can keep it up for 30 days, you have got yourself a new routine. Well done. Remember, the first days will be the toughest. You might need to write things down as a reminder, so keep a list by your bed. But gradually, day by day, these habits will become easier. Eventually, they will be automatic and you will feel so much better as a result. Also, if you are on your phone, make sure it's something positive at least. Look at your horoscope or fun social media, something that lifts you up. There's really nothing to be gained from reading endless depressing news stories. Our brains haven't evolved to process negativity on such a scale. When it comes to the news or how you use technology, remember that you can make conscious choices. You decide how you spend your limited time and energy. Do not allow your phone to steal your hours of your day. By the point, hopefully, you feel like you have got some tools to help you. It's possible to recover from burnout and to prevent it from occurring in the future by focusing on the things that are within your control. But it goes without saying that there are plenty of things not within your control. Life is full of uncertainty. You have probably heard the saying, change is the only constant. Annoying as it is, it's also true. So rather than fighting the inevitable, you can do is try your best to get comfortable with it. Work on accepting that change and uncertainty are part of life. Still, it's worth acknowledging that fear is natural too. After all, you are only human. How do you deal with that fear matters a lot. However, can make this can make all the difference. For instance, here is something to consider. We feel fear because our brains are trying to protect us, to keep us alive. But times have changed, and some of those fears have lost their relevance. For our early ancestors, social rejection meant being shunned from the group. It was a threat to survival, so naturally it was something to fear about. Today, many of us still have an intense fear of social rejection, even though it's no longer a matter of life or death. If someone judges you, so what? What's the worst that could happen? Also, even when bad things do happen, sometimes they lead to positive consequences you cannot even have predicted. In other words, the things you fear most might be precisely what helps you grow. For example, maybe you get laid off, but that leads to you finding new, much better job. You will just never know exactly how things are going to turn out. All you can do is try your best to live with the uncertainty, taking care of yourself and focusing on the things you can control, your daily routines, or your decision to say no to certain requests. It's up to you to prioritize yourself and to live the healthy, happy, and balanced life that you deserve. Alright, that's it for today. Hope you must have enjoyed it. If you can, please subscribe our channel and give your feedback. See you next one real soon.